Today, we're going to talk about the 4 things that home buyers you should be doing once you get into contract. This will help make sure your transaction goes smoothly.
First and foremost is that you want a pre-approval, and you want a solid bulletproof pre-approval. And the reason for that is once you are in contract, if for some reason the loan officer or the team that you're working with to get that pre-approval hasn't done their due diligence, things could come up and you could potentially lose your earnest money.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, you've seen this before. Mm-hmm. We've seen this before with a lot of people where they would get a quote or they say this lender can do X, Y, Z, mm-hmm. and you realize that they didn't even have their income documentation,
right,
or have any of their bank statements. They didn't even vet anything. They just went solely off of a phone conversation or just pulling credit.
Right, and things come up. If you're, for example, you've inputted your income in a lot of these online lenders, you're just inputting the information in and they're going solely and just based off of those numbers. So you want to have a loan officer that goes through the income, your assets, the whole 9 yards, your credit. They dissect that. We're reviewing everything up front, so that your pre-approval is bulletproof and there's going to be no issues once you're in contract, and it'll be smooth sailing.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point too. I mean, let's be honest, mm-hmm. we as loan officers, a good loan officer mm-hmm. almost has to think like an underwriter.
Right.
We're basically underwriting our files before they go to underwriting.
Right.
Because we want to make sure that all the holes are plugged by the time it gets to the underwriter. You know? So no, that's a good point.
I've had stuff come up where I'll get a call and somebody will say, the last time around that I got a pre-approval, my loan officer or the bank where I applied at didn't ask me for all this documentation, and that's a big red flag. You want to give all your documentation up front, because like the W-2s, the bank statements, the pay stubs, all of that, if you're not giving that up front, they don't have a solid pre-approval, and there could be hiccups along the road, and that's your money at risk, your earnest money, if for some reason we can't execute on your pre-approval, and for some reason the deal falls through once you're in contract. So it's good to provide all of that upfront and avoid having problems down the line when it's too late.
Yeah, because it'll be smooth sailing. You get all this done upfront, smooth sailing from that point onward, or it should be. You don't want to be at the nth hour, oh, we need this, mm-hmm. or oh, we have a problem. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to go through that.
Right. So it's good to provide, we can't say that enough. It's good to do all your homework up front. It might be annoying at first, gathering everything, but at least you're ahead of the game. And then once you do have your pre-approval, I'm bulletproof, and you can go look at houses at ease, knowing that, you're not going to have any issues in the long run.
Yeah. So there's that one. The second one is be aware of the cost out of pocket. And even if you're doing down payment assistance, where there's zero money down and sellers paying your closing costs, you have to be aware of some out-of-pocket expenses. First and foremost, once you get into contract, there's earnest money. Mm-hmm. And earnest money in Washington, is it this way in Oregon too, 1% standard?
Yeah, it's usually, the standard is 1%.
So 1% of the purchase price.
Right.
So if it's $400,000, figure $4,000 earnest money. Now, will a seller accept less? Yes, quite possibly, but just be aware. I would say at the very, very, very least, $1,500.
Yeah.
I would say, and that's a seller being generous.
Yeah, I would stick with the 1%.
Yeah, exactly. So just be aware that you have to provide that by the time when your contract is accepted or your offer is accepted. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind, this goes, if you did zero down and sellers paying all your closing costs, you will get that earnest money back after the loan funds. Or if there's money that you need to provide to closing, that 1% is getting applied towards that. So it's not in addition to closing costs.
Right.
So keep that in mind. The other piece is home inspection. When it's time to do the home inspection, you will have to pay that up front. That can range between what, $550 and $800,
yeah,
somewhere around there?
I would say around there.
So just be aware of that piece. That is a separate thing. You're gonna have to pay that regardless.
Yeah, and with the home inspection, there's usually 3 things to keep in mind. So there is the home inspection, which is the standard home inspection. You've got the radon test and then the sewer scope. So all of those usually range, like all 3 of them, is around $800, but I highly recommend that you get all 3 just to make sure there's no surprises. I did work within a couple, and this agent, they got a sewer scope. It was new construction. They felt like they were spending their money when they shouldn't have, and the sewer scope failed, and it was like a $15,000 out of pocket from the builder. So you always want to cover all your bases and make sure. So that'd be additional. I would at least cushion like $800 for those free inspections.
Yeah, trust me, saving $800 is not worth possibly it costing you 15 to 20 grand down the road.
Right.
So absolutely, positively get a home inspection.
Right.
So we got those 2 things, and then insurance. Want to talk about homeowners insurance?
Yeah. Well, we've got the inspection, we've got the earnest money. The third would be an appraisal.
The appraisal.
So some lenders, it just depends. But in most cases, it will be an out-of-pocket expense of the appraisal. So that usually ranges anywhere from like $750 to a little over $1,000. So I'd say standard of around $1,000. So that's a third-party fee where they go out and appraise the value of the property and make sure that it's worth the purchase price and what you're buying it for. So with those 3 things, so what would be like a generic total that somebody would want to have in the bank if they were looking for a purchase price around $400 to $500? Would you say?
I would probably say about 7,000.
Right.
To cover all that.
Right.
Again, keep in mind the earnest money will go towards your closing costs. So it'll get credited towards total closing cost. Appraisal is a part of closing costs too. That also will get credited. The only thing that's outside the closing costs is the inspection piece. So just know, in a absolute worst case scenario, if you don't go through with the transaction, you could be out $800, $850. But it also, if the home is in that bad of shape, you just saved yourself
a big headache,
a lifetime of misery, or years of misery, or a money pit. Yeah. So be aware of those things. And then once you have done that, I would say immediately, let's talk about homeowners insurance.
Yeah. Okay. Homeowners insurance. Again, it's very important to work with a local lender, and we'll bring that up here shortly, and a local homeowners
insurance agent.
Can you tell them why?
Yeah, and here's a perfect example, the one that we're working on now, where it's a little bit of a unique property. It's a site condo, and there's special type of insurance that you need for that. And this customer, bless her heart, she is with Allstate. She decided to call Allstate, the centralized 1-800 number.
I think she went to Geico first, and then
she went to Geico.
Yeah.
And the Geico's progressives, you got to remember, they're large companies and their operations are centralized. So you're not talking with a local agent. So you're dealing with somebody probably in central time zone, maybe East Coast, whatever, and you're calling a 1-800 number, and it takes you forever to get through to somebody. And those people that are taking the calls, they don't really know what you're looking for. When we try to talk to them, they don't even want to talk to us, the lender, which that's a big problem, because before we can get loan documents out, before we can get your closing disclosure out, we need a homeowner's insurance binder. We need that coverage bound. And this one transaction, we just could not get a hold of somebody because it was a 1-800 number. They didn't give us a contact person's name or email address. we couldn't even reach that person to tell them specifically what we needed. They kept sending the same wrong thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, and the issue is there wasn't enough coverage on the policy to cover her home if for some reason there was a fire or something came up and everything burned to the ground. She didn't have enough coverage. So it was important for us to get in touch with somebody on the other line and going through those 800 numbers and getting put on hold and everything else and not coming up with a resolution. It was, I think we were 3 or 4 quotes in and we still weren't getting what we needed. So we decided to.
Yeah, we reached out to a local insurance agent, somebody I know very well, good friend of mine, told him exactly what we needed. Bam, within 2 hours, we got not only the right coverage, but we got the insurance binder within 2 hours. And keep in mind, we were running against the clock here because, like I said, you cannot get loan documents even ordered until you have an insurance binder. And closing date is later this week, Friday. And so time was of the essence. They came through for us.
Yeah.
And this is where having local connections for your homeowner's insurance is critical. It really, really is. You can use your own local agent. If you have a local agent that does your car insurance, that's fine. But if you don't like their quote, reach out to us. We have agents that we can recommend for you.
And I'll bring up lastly about having a local lender here. I'll bring up a story that I had recently. We have a client that is out of Camas that's here, in Vancouver area. I live in Ridgefield. Paul lives in Vancouver, and she was working with another company that was not here locally, and she didn't feel comfortable. She called us, and we were able to help her right away through the weekend, get her a pre-approval, and from there we were able to win over the offer because I called the listing agent personally, which I know personally, and she says, Rebecca, we know that you and your team will be able to close because we've closed many transactions with her. And she's a very well-known listing agent. And between Paul and I, we know a lot of listing agents here in the area, and we have a good reputation, and we do partner and we keep in communication with them constantly. And because of that, we're able to win offers over, other companies that are not here locally or that are just online that don't have that reputation of closing on time and, holding their fees. Sometimes at the end they surprise them with, closing documents what they didn't originally sign. So things come up. We're at the closings. We're here to hold your hand throughout the process. We don't have any hidden fees. Everything is what you see is what you get type of thing. So I don't know if you wanted to add anything on.
Yeah, no, I think you hit it all on the head. I think that is going to help your transaction go more smoothly, having somebody local, same time zone. And then we have the fourth thing, which is when you're in contract, you've got your homeowner's insurance set up, inspection's good, appraisal's been ordered, all that stuff. There will be some issues, or I don't want to say issues, but there will be situations we send the file to underwriting. They will likely ask for some additional things. Updated pay stub, updated bank statement, proof your earnest money check cleared your bank account. To make your life, our life, everybody's life easier, when your lender is asking you for these documents, make sure you have them handy. So be prepared. Be prepared to have your most recent bank statement information, transaction history, most recent pay stubs handy, because it's likely we will ask for them. When your lender asks for them, please promptly get those back to them. Don't do the, oh, well, yeah, I'll get it to you by the end of this week. No, we're on a time crunch. There's a contract you have to sign and close by a certain date. There's no, we'll get it to you whenever. No, when a lender asks you for something, you really need to get that document to them that day or no later than 24 hours.
Yeah, and I would add to that, when I've been looking for houses, house searching, I would just save, a folder within my computer, and as pay stubs come through, or if it's, as we are in tax season right now, once you get your W-2, just put it in a folder so you have everything. Or if, bank statements come through, because we need updated documentation every 30 days. So if you've been out there looking for a house for the last 60 days, we don't have, the last 2 months worth of updated asset statements. So bank statements, if you're gonna pull from a 401k, stuff like that, if you can just create a folder, and this is, just, label it, home search, and just have those available, so that when we do ask for it, you have everything in the folder and you just upload, or you can upload it as you go. We have that secured online portal, or you can we have secured emails as well. So you can send it to us as you get them, but it's good to be ahead of the curveball, if anything, and have your stuff in order. It just makes the process smooth sailing.
Yeah. I think we've covered everything.
Yeah.
I mean, just to recap, the 4 things. One is, to make sure you get your, be aware of the cost of, the appraisal, home inspection, earnest money. Second thing is get your homeowner's insurance, get that going right away. Third, obviously this really was the first one, make sure you're pre-approved. Make sure your lender has vetted your application and that you really are good to go. Because once you're in contract, the clock is starting. And then the last thing is be attentive, be responsive when your lender asks you for additional documentation. So
Paul, where would they go if they need a pre-approval?
So they can just go to my website to apply, or Rebecca's. Also, our email address is here below. You can call either one of us too. And so if you feel this is helpful, if you like this content, please hit the like button, comment, and subscribe to our page. Thanks a lot. Appreciate your time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.